So if you're the filmmakers and producers of the Superman franchise, how do you apologize for Superman 3? Make sure there's no star that steals away the spotlight from the main character. Make sure that there's no imitation Gene Hackman playing Lex Luthor. Give us back his love interest Lois Lane. And then the final ingredient, a memorable, big screen supervillain called Nuclear Man. What the f***?
I review movie previews.
What's up, good movie lovers, and welcome to Movie Night for Superman 4 Quest for Peace. Our feature-length critical analysis of all the Christopher Reeve Superman films ends here. And unfortunately, so does the franchise for almost 20 years. This is generally agreed to be the worst of those 80s films, though it does have the most kitschy, make fun of it as you watch it, hipster MST3K value. The effects are bad, most of the acting, aside from Christopher Reeve, is phoned in, the budget is low, the editing is choppy, the story makes no sense, and the villain is horrible. And while the easy choice would be to make this movie just a drinking game, it's our responsibility, our challenge, and our duty for the future of movies to take an objective point of view and try to find the movie truth. Specifically, what were the factors on and off screen that were influencing it? If you've never listened to a movie night before, it's basically an audio commentary where you have the video on your end and you sync it up with the audio here. Throughout the commentary, I'll be mentioning the time code so we can stay in sync. Also, there will be moments of silence, lasting anywhere from 5 to 10 to 30 to 60 seconds. Once the movie ends, let's hang out afterwards for some closing thoughts. Hold off on pressing play for just a moment because Chris and I have a small discussion before we actually start the commentary. You'll hear the cue when we press play, but just to prepare you, you should get ready to hit the play button exactly 2 minutes and 39 seconds from right now.
He was nominated for the Palme d'Or at the 1965 Cannes Film Festival.
The director of Superman 4
Yes, was nominated.
was
for
nominated
Best
for
Film.
the highest honor at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes, in 1965 for the IP file, which I've never heard of. And then in 1980 he was nominated for the worst director from the Razzies with the remake of The Jazz Singer.
Remake of The Jazz
So
Singer.
he's gone everywhere. he's had the highs and he's had the lows.
So this is us doing research on the director here, Sidney Furie, coming off of Iron Eagle going into Superman 4.
Yes. His previous career peak was an adaptation of the Ipcris file starring Michael Caine, which was nominated for the Palme d'Or in Cannes. Didn't win.
Right. But you got Michael Caine, respectable.
Right.
And then, as you just mentioned, I think the peak of his career would have been directing Rodney Dangerfield
In Ladybugs. Yes, he's still got work after Superman 4. In fact, after this, he went on to do Iron Eagle 2.
Okay.
So, which everyone knows is the best of the Iron Eagles.
Lewitt Gossett Jr., right?
It was the darkest of the trilogy.
The darkest of that. Don't say that too loud because Hollywood's listening and they might start rebooting those.
The Iron Eagle reboot.
They
completely apropos to nothing, but since this movie's terrible, you know what I'm surprised I haven't seen yet? Where's the Gremlins reboot?
Yeah.
That seems like that would just... It's got the marketing, you got the toys, it's like Smurfs,
Everyone knows
Smurfs
it.
redo. So,
It's evil Smurfs, basically.
yeah,
Pissed
fair
off
enough.
Smurfs.
And they would do the whole thing with CGI instead of the awesome puppet work, of course.
Yeah, and it would feel less real, and we're giving them too many ideas. So we come to the conclusion of the 80s, 70s, 80s Christopher Reeve
Yes.
Superman saga with this fourth installment, 1987. And as we've kind of learned week by week...
And this is where the quality just plummets. I've actually heard one or two defenses of this movie, but it's not happening.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we haven't hit play. We're about to hit play.
We can point out possible positives to come out of here, I suppose.
I would say it's a little more focused than the third movie.
Yeah, it's a Superman movie. It's a Superman movie.
Yeah, there's
it's
no
not a
Richard Pryor
movie. Right.
It definitely is like we're going to focus more on Superman.
I'll give it that. It's trying to be the serious movie. It's not the Superman 3 like farce of half goofiness and just ridiculousness. So yeah, there is that.
And it doesn't get lost.
So points for trying.
Well, as we're going to say, we're going to hit play. We're not going to delay anymore. So let's just get this going. And we're watching without the sound, but I do remember that the sound here is a very somber Superman music.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a funeral of this is the end and we know it.
Still the theme, but yeah. And we just see
We're
immediately.
These credits. This is so bad.
And you see that the budget, this is the Cannon Group, Golden Globus, which was given this movie.
That should have been the name of the opponent, Golden Globus. That feels like a bad guy name.
I don't know. People wouldn't get that, obviously.
Golden Globus, Superman. Now, you've been reading the kind of Superman bio, the history.
Yeah.
Thing. So, what happened with the producers of the first 3 movies? No longer had the rights after.
I think after Supergirl bombed too, I think they passed this off or didn't want to lose the money anymore, but they gave it to Golden Globus to do. And Golden Globus at the time was the schlockmeisters of the 80s. They did like Invasion USA and lots of Chuck Norris movies.
Okay.
And the problem is that right before this, they'd come out with their big budget arm wrestling epic, Over the Top.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yes, which flopped. And
why isn't the remake of that out yet?
I know. I mean,
that would be a big hipster hit, I think, if they could market arm wrestling.
We need a title like Fast and Furious for arm wrestling. You know, like the Buff and the
Buff and the Bold.
Yeah, right. something like that, and then you could have 6 of them, and it can just be a worldwide crime ring that they're also arm wrestlers,
underground, and then high stakes.
Somehow they use their arm wrestling techniques to rob banks,
to open doors, right. And to shift gears in cars, and
to break open vaults.
There's a whole thing going on. So Golden Globus gets the rights,
right? But because of the Over the Top fallout, they had to slash the budget of this, like 2/3 of it. I think it came down to like 17 million or something. That sounds about right. Which for a Superman movie is probably absurd.
I do remember reading that Canon had like 30 projects going on at once.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, they were just pumping things out at all times, and they were just...
If I'm not mistaken, they did produce RoboCop, I believe. I kind of feel like the Canon symbol... I might just be throwing that out there. I feel like they had one hit, because I remember seeing the Canon logo and associating with like something good. Maybe there's like 1 or 2 movies out there.
Right.
But for a 13-year-old, you know, me being 13 at the time, being like, oh yeah, it's a Canon movie. This is gonna be awesome.
Well, RoboCop kind of fits in with what they were doing at the time. It just they happened to get Paul Verhoeven, who knew how to turn it into something else and do.
So they wanted it to be just like B movie, right. Grindhouse.
RoboCop could easily be that.
It's
not far. It's just a little bit of it's like a 45-degree turn from being that kind of silly Chuck Norris thing.
So here we have the 3-minute bad credit sequence, and we go to the outer space, and we're going to have Superman have a opening action sequence.
We're establishing a theme here in this opening sequence already.
Which
because
would be...
We have the cooperating astronauts.
Yeah. Well, you know, this is something I like about this movie, is that... And I know this is Christopher Reeve saying, I have influence in the Superman saga.
Right.
So I want to make a movie that says something. I want to take the current conditions and put it in it.
Right.
So it's kind of his conscious sort of filmmaking for him.
Yeah, we already see some of these amazing effects. So we have the Soviet cosmonauts who are going to get rescued.
Oh, that guy just gets nailed.
I feel like this was where they blew a lot of their budget just right off the bat.
All right, we got him.
Because there are space scenes later that are just pretty pathetic.
Yeah, the effects get worse as the movie goes along.
As was the trend in the 80s was let's find some common ground with the Soviets.
Right.
Red Dawn aside, we have which was the opposite, but this is the time of Rocky IV.
Yes.
Of, Ruskies.
Talk about a lost movie there, Ruskies. That was actually the name of a movie.
Yes.
Superman flying at the screen.
The flying effects are pretty bad.
That was worse than the first 3 movies, and you kind of wonder how could they do that. Yeah, 86, 87. Now I guess that technically would be like the peak oil. You know, the peak of the communism, the Cold War.
Right.
Russia's about to fall. You know, 2 years later it's going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the U.S. really felt the patriotism, the height of that. And this is really a movie of the 80s. If you're wondering kind of what would signify that, it's up there in terms of like, well, arms race, Superman even gets involved in that.
Again, this is a decent thematic. I mean, the flying effects are awful. This is a decent thematic beginning because you have Superman, the American icon, helping out the Russian astronauts.
Yeah.
And speaking Russian to them, too.
So showing a little bit of his smarts there.
Right.
Now we cut to Smallville.
Now, this could be a decent scene, but then we see he's selling the farm or thinking about selling the farm, which could have an interesting resonance if it wasn't I mean, it doesn't come up ever again. There's no real point to him trying to sell the farm. There's no trying to forget the past or anything like that. This it serves entirely to set up this solution later in the movie.
With the crystal.
Yeah, he's hearing right now, he's searching through his stuff. He's going to find
the secret hatch.
The secret hatch. He's going to get the crystal, which conveniently, you can only use this once, which I think we've heard before about these crystals.
Well, and in the second movie, he uses kind of, you can only do this once, or, I mean, in the director's cut,
this is irreversible, yeah.
Yeah, Jor-El's final power is given to him to go back
so we
into Superman form.
The voiceover from his mother.
And they're sticking with the mother, obviously.
And this makes no sense. I mean, why is it speaking to him still? Was this just on a loop this whole time?
Yeah.
Going over and over again?
It's just a infinite recording. Yeah, now this is one of the issues of this sequel, and that it's the fourth movie. And we're reviewing similar thematic territory.
Right.
He's gone through this whole growth thing. He's been on the farm. His parents are gone. He's accepted it. We know that he's the last of his race. He had the crystal. So all this stuff we've seen before, he's rewinding and going through the same thing again. And if we were to go back to... If Part 3 would have done a good job of continuing Part 2, it would have been, well, what's the next step after I give up my powers for love?
Right.
But, you know, my mission is really to be kind of more of a hero or whatever. Last commentary we talked about, maybe it's that split of the good versus evil Superman.
There's some terrible X-ray vision effects, but I have to point these out as we're talking because it's one after another.
The wall just disappears and he sees the car.
The wall just goes through a filter, and then we just see another scene.
So that could have been Part 3's little theme. Would have been that devil angel thing, like the battle within him.
Right.
And then what that carries over to this. So this is what Superman starts a family. Superman leaves Earth. Leading in the Superman Returns, like he wants to go find the rest of his planet.
We get the our overarching motivation of the stopping the arms race in nuclear world, but we don't get anything why he wants to do this. What's in it for him besides being the hero or whatever? What is really driving him to do this? Because we get the start, and again, it would be a nice moment if this resonated throughout the rest of the movie, because he wants to sell the farm, so he's giving up his Earth past, and then he makes the ship go cold or whatever, so he's giving up that too.
Right.
So this is cutting ties. But again, this doesn't really come up at all.
The action sequence in the beginning didn't have an effect on him, really. Like, ideally, if you go through some kind of fight or battle, it weighs on you somehow.
Right.
And then that influences your next step, your next progression in terms of who you are and what you're going to be doing. So in a more refined kind of way of writing, maybe something happens on the space station here where maybe it was the battling between the American and the Russian astronauts that caused the malfunction, and he realizes, I got to bring these two sides together because Earth is going to destroy itself.
Right.
It needs to be a little more cohesive and then motivational for the character. But here we just get these cool set pieces. Okay, we're going to have him kind of be goofy and striking out and pretending that, this good old boy is striking him out and all this. And you're right, this is just like, could be a nice little setup for something. It seems like it's thematic.
Right. But
it just doesn't continue. You don't see it anywhere else.
I know you'd like to talk about the character's journey, and that's the thing. There isn't one. This movie's all about the plot. And there's a theme that comes from the plot, but it's still
from the outside.
There's a point it's making, but there's no internal reason for it.
It's not coming from Superman,
right?
And it seems in 1987, you're going to start the comic book world's going to start to go dark now, right? Or in the next year or two, or this year, kind of. It's happening right around this time because I think they're sensing, there's only so much we can do. I mean, we've had in the 60s, what would that be, the Silver Age, Golden Age? The
60s would have been the Silver Age, yeah.
So that you get kind of like characters who are dealing with the drug addiction with other characters, and that kind of societal stuff
that comes out in the 80s,
there. Yeah.
I mean, it's been going on since the early 80s at this point, I think. But
there's only so far these characters are going, so Superman has to come to a realization of, well, I'm saving everyone, but no one's changing, or am I really helping? Does he doubt himself? What's the next step? And if he doesn't change, we're going to get tired of his set pieces, right?
It's strange to think this movie's only 2 years before Batman.
Yeah,
good point. Changes everything again.
And tonally, they're so different.
Right.
John Cryer here, he would be not necessarily part of the Brat Pack of the 80s, but kind of like the cousin of the Brat Pack.
The Poochie of this movie. Which is...
He wasn't Pretty in Pink, right? He was...
Yeah.
So he was kind of part of it, but not part of the inside crew. And this is a goofy, just setup for Lex Luthor.
Yes, we have Lex Luthor's nephew.
I guess he really is played... Lex Luthor is just like this comedic kind of bad guy in all these movies, right? He never really kind of...
Yeah, he doesn't really give off any kind of menace. And even his schemes, especially in this one, are just... Even his... I mean, at least in the first one, he's nuking towns.
Right.
Everything. I mean, that's
pretty badass. That's pretty evil.
Right. That's fair. That's going pretty far. And now he's got this
bad effect right here.
Money. Yeah. little Blues Brothers style.
But no, what was awesome was that they're not hurt here, right? It's the cartoon, even though flipped on the top.
He broke my watch. That's what we're gonna get at. Oh, and that's I mean, yeah.
12 minutes 26 seconds as we see that the guards are okay, but they're just filled with dust in the cartoon kind of style, and we're just laughing because the car just all of a sudden just launches into the air. Blues Brothers having that super far, that nonstop fall, right? And now, okay, so if we're following the character of Superman and Clark Kent, he leaves the farm of the threat of it being sold or taken from this guy.
Right.
And now he's just here following Lois. What's the connection for him?
Yeah, here's another small, a set piece they can do, I guess, on the budget they had, which again doesn't really add anything. There's a lot of time filling in these early moments of this movie.
It is, yeah. It's just, okay, let's have another set piece. The background with the Smokey the Bear sign.
And set piece is a strong word for these things.
He just dies. The consumption just has a heart attack.
Slowly collapses there, kind of just going to sleep.
And now Superman somehow realizes this.
Right.
13 minutes, 35 seconds, Lois is screaming for help. We have to introduce Lois.
Right.
Now, in a well-written script, you would have her already on her character journey. How would she be changed by the previous events of the other movies? Mm-hmm. And what is it that she wants now with her life?
We do get a phone booth change, which we haven't had in the series. So.
Okay, so we had the walk past it kind of thing,
little
right?
nod.
So we get the official phone booth. But just having bad, that's so horrible.
And we don't even see this train speeding or anything. That's all. The entire effect is let's pan by these people really quickly. There's no.
And all
apparently
he
steps on the rail
and takes the electricity away.
I suppose.
And what was the big threat? They would get to their next stop faster.
Well, I guess the train wasn't stopping.
What would have happened?
They passed a couple stops, I suppose.
That was literally like a 30-second action sequence. Action scene, action half a scene. And then
even this, he's like, hang on, I want to make sure everybody hears this public service announcement. Which is actually wrong. It's contradictory to his, I think it's a callback to the first movie when he says, safest way to travel, is flight or whatever.
Well, they do that in Returns also.
And they do it in Returns.
So is Superman a character who's kind of the guy who always does a public service announcement? Well,
I don't know. He's been called a Boy Scout, but I don't know if he's going to. Which would just happen here. He stopped the paramedics from entering the thing so he can make this announcement. And he's like, "All right, carry on." So the guy that collapsed is still laying there, but
because in the third movie he was able to do the visual X-ray and see that Jimmy Olsen's leg wasn't broken or something, right?
Or
he
it
fell.
was, or something, yeah.
Or it was. So wouldn't he just do the X-ray on the guy and just be like, "Man, that heart's not pumping anymore"? Or could he touch him and just make him kind of come back to life?
Check out those shoulder pads.
Mariel Hemingway, who was kind of got her break in Woody Allen's Manhattan, right? I think she played the young love interest. Now, this is another commentary kind of on the corporate culture, like the capitalism of just takeovers, and then the whole thing of if it bleeds, it leads,
right.
The quality of news kind of taking a dip in favor of just selling more papers and whatever you print to kind of have the sensationalism. So there's some ideas here that are have something to potentially grow from.
Yeah, we have an entire Daily Planet subplot, which we've never done. Mm-hmm. So I suppose that's something.
I suppose that's... Now, but is that subplot there because there's no Superman major plot, and it's not strong enough, so we need these other things to kind of distract us and to fill the time. Mm-hmm. By the way, this guy playing the taker over capitalist guy, he's kind of the douchebag in like a lot of 80s movies. He always plays like the power corporate guy, or like the evil dad or grandfather kind of figure. I don't know the actor's name. And it seems that because there's not a strong relationship dynamic between Lois and Clark right now, they throw in this character to kind of give some fake...
Right, so now we have Clark having a love interest of sorts. And again, it's played for what? I mean, we have this, but again, it doesn't really have any point. I'm trying to find words for this movie. And
17 minutes, 22 seconds. Short. She is not from another planet. That outfit is I guess during this time
that was not borrowed from Zod or anything.
I feel like she was influenced by the show Dynasty, which would have been a late night kind of soap opera. And I think she's kind of fashioned off of, one of Joan Collins or one of those kind of characters there. It is slow moving. I mean, we're 18 minutes into it. There's Jimmy Olsen. 17 minutes, 54 seconds.
I mean, we've gotten more Superman than we got in part 3, but...
That's true. It starts with Richard Pryor.
It still feels like a slog right now.
Because, okay, what have we established so far? We've got Lex Luthor has escaped. Super goofy tone. We've got the Daily Planet being threatened.
And now we have nuclear arms...
So now we're introducing it. 18 minutes, 22 seconds, getting a little bit bigger. This is where this classroom needs the Red Dawn parachutes in the background coming in.
So it does look like that same classroom, doesn't it?
This is really... it's like,
the windows in the back.
Now it's darker. It's kindergarten and not high schoolers.
Yeah, and again, we have no... I mean, there's no internal motivation or character motivation for Superman. It's just this kid,
He's waiting around.
Mopey kid.
So, because this is where
writes a letter
the
to
real
Superman.
catalyst happens.
Right.
So it's this kid writing a letter and Superman taking it to heart.
Right.
So it's not that Superman could figure it out on his own, and he's dealing with these things. He's not the one who feels it. It takes the heart of a little kid to bring it out of him. And so this is his hair holding up 1,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know if it's nitpicky or not, but this doesn't quite make any sense to me either. But...
The way that they steal it?
Well...
Because they use scissors to cut,
yes.
cut Superman's hair with regular scissors. Yeah.
I mean, okay.
I was going to bring it up.
I don't know. Maybe they're kryptonite scissors. I don't know.
These are scissors made from something because...
Yeah, she throw a line in there at least to explain this away.
Or at least take the pants, by the way, that they have on right now. 19 minutes, 58 seconds. Oh, okay, it's not in normal scissors, but still, there's nothing that would be able to technically cut Superman's hair.
I have not, but it seems pretty easy. I'm sure it's bolt cutters, I guess, but...
So now we have more story in motion. We've got Lex Luthor has a plan.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the DNA. And we have the Daily Planet thing going on. Then we have Miss Warfield liking Clark for some reason.
Yeah.
There's no motivation for her to be in love with him or to want him. And does this make Lois Lane jealous at all? Because it's an interesting take that no one's ever been chasing after Clark. It's always been kind of
right.
Superman, though there really wasn't, a battling love interest for Superman in the other movies.
Immediately coming on to him and...
So there's no motivation coming from the characters here. It's just like, okay, this scene needs this, so we're just going to create it.
We're a quarter of the way through the movie, by the way.
Yeah, this movie is 90 minutes long, and we're 21 minutes, 30 seconds into it. And there hasn't really been a true Superman kind of fight or what's going on with him. Well, at this point in the 87 for Superman movie, is it just basically you're like, okay, let's just see what Superman can do, Like, I don't care about the character. I want to just see...
Right.
Oh, he's frozen the lake and lifted it and turned it into rain. He's turned the world, reverse time. He's done all these other things. So what's the new thing that can happen for us, the audience, to be excited about?
How does he get this letter? I'm not quite sure. No, I know I'm sounding bewildered throughout this whole thing, but...
No, but
I imagine Superman gets a lot of letters.
Yeah.
I mean, they make fun of the kid, like, what, Santa Claus? Like, you'd think kids write Superman probably a lot, so I guess they noticed this one.
That's a great point, that he probably would be the real-life Santa Claus.
Mm.
And there would be some kind of devoted little section of some...
Right.
He'd be employing someone to be like, hey, answer all these
letters.
I
guess this is actually the plot. This sets in motion this plot because the paper gets a hold of the story and all that.
And they kind of just start pushing and all that. But we're 23 minutes into the movie. Okay, and the kid shows up. Hey, thanks for writing a letter that no one else thought to write. Is it that this is just a self-contained story and that it's more fun if they're kind of connected to the other movies? There's that.
I'm just watching those shoulder pads.
She does have the pretty badass. The 80s
like a
has some
straight line across.
Seriously, she could be like a starting center on the.
Right, so we skip past Superman saying no, and now we get the great headline. I do like this: "Drop dead to kid." That's it's a bit more of a Spider-Man thing, but
And wouldn't Clark know what they're going to print? So wouldn't he just be like, listen, we're not writing this. Like, obviously he's not going to reveal he's Superman, but wouldn't
he didn't know this was happening, apparently.
Oh, so they were betrayed by the corporate...
That appears to be
their masters who are saying, we're going to just do what it takes kind of thing. They didn't know. They're out of the loop now. Is that what's going on?
Yeah. It's like they brought in a J. Jonah Jameson to spice things up, but and then we get. I think is this the? Are we going to the United Nations now? The fake United Nations,
or it's just like some sidewalk, and they couldn't afford the real.
I think that was one of the quotes from Reeve, I think in his book or whatever, where he was talking that they wrote this scene for the United Nations, and if it was still like Richard Donner doing it, they would have actually filmed it on 42nd Street and done the whole thing. And instead, it's like it just doesn't look right. Oh no! First, he goes and gets his advice. I believe that's footage from the first movie.
Because this looks pretty cool. But now, if you watch the director's cut, he melted this away.
Correct.
He kind of beams it. See you later. He destroys it, which would be an interesting thing to deal with in the following movies. Like, well, what does he do without his place of advice? And then it's brought up in Returns, where Lex Luthor goes back and listens to the crystals, kind of thing. Now, this is kind of could be a powerful scene. It's kind of emotional, but then we get like these.
Right. Who are these people?
Yeah. So the whole thing.
Why is he getting advice from all these people now? I thought we had the father who doesn't show up anymore. Then we had the mother
whose voice was just on a recorded loop.
Right.
And now we have
and that made sense. Like, okay, we're connected to these people. And I know we had the brief moment of we saw like the poetry being read by these, but he didn't talk to these. Like, who is he talking? Why are those old? Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, why would he seek advice from these people? Why they're not the ones who forbid it? I just don't know. Like, there's no
explanation.
They couldn't get the other actors, basically.
Yeah, I mean, they're like, we got no budget. We're not going to pay these people, so let's just make something up. At this point, are we really sticklers for anything? Do we just... you've seen this movie a lot when you were younger, right?
Yeah, but I don't remember most of this first half.
What drew you back towards watching it? I mean, obviously, like, you're 10, 9,
As
8.
a kid, it was just,
you're not going to be so analytical about it.
Right, much like, I mean, I probably watched this one and the second one the most because it had super fights.
Super fights. Yeah, at the base level, super fights.
Right. And this one, for all its flaws, it had that, whereas Superman 3 did not. That was worth watching.
I'm in the same camp because I remember, like, okay, Nuclear Man. If this would be on, I would watch it at the parts where they start fighting.
Right.
And okay, he gets clawed, and he's
still not something
shivering.
you got to see as a kid very much. This was before this. We had 4 of these movies, 5 of these movies every year.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's Superman coming out in '87. There's really no comparable kind of scale type of film coming out like that.
Right.
For
Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe, right.
Which I think was Golden Globe. I think probably was Golden Globes.
It's the same thing. It's like, we're in this cool, weird universe. Let's go back to Earth so we can film it cheaply.
And speaking of cheap.
Yeah, and here, that's so bad. And now he reveals to her who he is.
Right.
And we're going to get the exact same character journey for both of them that they had in the first movie.
Now they're going to fly and hold hands, and she immediately, she sees it's Clark Superman, and then they're going to come back, and there's
so boring. I think that's the same train shot from the first movie, like when the earthquake's happening.
No, because look at how blurry they are this time.
Yeah, they're just like superimposed over a 10-year-old film. And at least she's not doing the voiceover.
Right.
But still, like is that
prairies.
John Wayne Western? Like, okay. Now we're in San Francisco. This is absolutely just like, well, we're running out of ideas. Let's just do the
look
same
at that
thing again.
What are you? Okay, what? What was that line? Hey, look at that! It's a city.
Now we're like, it's freezing. Now I'm gonna drop you.
And just wait, so she's staying up now?
She's kind of.
How is she still flying? When he dropped her the first one, she just went down like a rock, and now she's just. Did he propel her forward? I don't.
They just went around the entire United States.
Yes.
In like 2 minutes. And they weren't going that fast.
Between letting her go and like doing whatever that was and dropping her off, walking off the building with her, doing that, and now here when he makes her forget again.
Yeah.
It's like he's just screwing with her. There's no... Okay, so here, if you wanted to make this scene work, obviously he's struggling with his decision. They can maybe talk about that.
Right.
I don't know. Or talk about something. You're the only one I can talk to. He doesn't really bring it up here. Or does he? Maybe I'm forgetting. Oh no, just you'll always do the right thing no matter what. That's it. That's the talking.
It's almost like The Notebook. He brought her back for like a couple seconds. And then he like puts her back into the haze. Like, you forgot everything.
That was the whole point of this. He needs somebody to talk to. And she said, you'll do the right thing. That's it.
That's a cool line right there.
Mm-hmm.
Never set one above the rest and love them as a whole. That's a good thematic place to start the movie for this character if they would go forward with it, but they don't. And then we get the same thing with the kiss.
He's loving them as a whole is trying to stop the nuclear war.
So he's leaving her.
Right. He can't be with her, which...
That's some promising territory, but they leave and they never go back to it.
Right.
And it's a very weird thing to be like, okay... Now I'm just gonna erase your memory again.
Yeah. Again, it feels kind of a dick move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, I needed to talk to somebody, so I'm gonna use you for a bit. All right. You're good. So anytime he's feeling down, he just goes to her. He's like, "Hey, I'm Superman. Let's talk about this a bit." And all right, you forget.
But again, what does she have to offer? Like, oh, just follow your heart, do the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that he struggles with doing kind of the right thing or following this kid's dream or his request.
I just noticed something in that scene. Was that Superman's apartment? No, that was Lois's, right?
That was Lois's.
Oh, okay.
That'd be great if she woke up in his apartment. Like, well, what's going on here?
What a scoop.
31 minutes, 23 seconds. Now, things at least start to feel like they start moving at this point.
Terrible hot dog vendor there. I just wanna...
Now, look, there were two fire hydrants.
Where are we walking? United Nations?
Two fire hydrants in close proximity right there.
We're walking into the...
Well, they cheated it. They had a long shot, and then they had a wide shot of it, then they do a close-up of the crowd.
I mean, this just looks... Yeah, the United Nations looks like a hotel lobby.
And everyone just claps. So there's some...
That'd be great if he did all this and then went and said, "No, I'm still not doing it."
But what would be his justification? Like, I'm not going to do it. Like, you have to settle your own problems. Like, like I can do small things. I can stop like the guy from robbing the bank.
Right.
But I'm not going to end the arms race.
Well, that's the conclusion he comes to, right?
It'd be great if she's like, "No, you can't speak," because he would have to. He wouldn't.
I love that. We get all the stereotypical types of people. We get the everybody's wearing their
the most culturally recognizable garb possible.
I mean, I'm not an expert, but I don't think that's how it works.
Everyone,
I don't know. I see a lot of people in suits at the United Nations, no matter where they're from.
But this is where it really starts to feel like the movie gets going finally after 33 minutes. And this is whenever it would be on TV, I'd always this would be the part like, oh, cool.
Right.
He's going to get the missiles, and then Lex Luthor's plan's going to get going. So it's really like an hour of, I don't want to say interesting stuff, but stuff that kind of starts moving at a faster pace. Because once...
We have our impetus behind the movie.
Yeah.
A third of the way through.
Main character has an objective, doesn't really have an opponent just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a theme? Not so much. Does he have a window character? Yeah, Lois Lane, the people in the mirrors and the fortress that he has. It's very kind of just hanging together.
And this doesn't even... Why is the entire United Nations applauding this? Like, these are all the countries that are going through these. And then everybody's just, yeah, that's great. And then we're immediately going to start... we're immediately going to continue testing nuclear arms.
Yeah.
But good job.
Which, by the way, is going to create the most polluted Earth ever because we're launching all of the missiles. Couldn't he just, like, not have to... Well, do they have to really launch it to him? Couldn't he just come down and pick them up?
Well, this is what I don't understand. Okay, so they're launching these test missiles, and he's grabbing onto there. What is this accomplishing? Nothing.
There's the same swooping at the screen.
I guess they don't get test data from what happens to the missiles. I don't know. I mean, everybody still has these. If he went down and went into the actual like arsenals and just started getting rid of all those, but they're launching these things.
And I think this clip here is from Spies Like Us. You get the winter CCCP. You have to understand, in the 80s, when you saw CCCP, you knew the bad guys were there, right? Like, just go to that symbol. And I didn't know that the missiles could go into outer space so easily.
Well, I don't know where they're going. Why are they going that far in this?
But I mean,
I still.
Where did he get this net?
Obviously, he made it himself. And I think we missed out by not seeing him tying this rope net together in like a really fast motion scene where he's putting this all together.
Well, as we see him rebuild the wall, he could just do it with his eyes.
Right.
He just like stares at the net and it just builds itself.
Again, I don't know what this accomplishes really, other than just kind of proving a point, being a.
I don't know. To me, this kind of looked cool back in the day, but it looks really cheesy now.
Well, but bag of missiles is kind of cool, but
So we have like that's just launching at the sun all these missiles. And that was probably about like
now,
I don't know,
now
100 missiles.
Yeah, now 1,000 people on Earth have cancer. They were outside when that happened.
Extra radiation dose. Now Lex Luthor, the last time we saw him, he cut the strand of hair.
Right.
And he was hanging out with John Cryer with a really bad wardrobe. So now he's got a little flashier suit. I guess automatically two girls just show up.
Well, yeah.
Like
You're a criminal
it
mastermind.
just has to happen.
It's the first thing you do.
There's probably some kind of club and they're just, for rent per hour or something or whatever the...
For somebody who just escaped from prison, he's not really hiding out much. He's in his penthouse.
Do you think that they might tell Superman, hey, Lex Luthor just escaped?
Meh.
Why bother?
I guess those guys are still bewildered by the... I keep saying bewildered. I don't know. It's my word.
That's the emotion it's creating. That's the verbalization of that emotion.
Those guys are still recovering from the car crash from earlier.
Right. But that's the logic of the storytelling, is that Lex Luthor is Superman's nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
So he would be told. Wouldn't the Daily Planet Bugle paper know about this escape? And wouldn't he try to then go find him? So it's not organic. It's not connected. It doesn't make sense. And that's just like the frustrating thing. Once you get out of your teens and you kind of watch this again, you're like, oh, this is kind of...
But yeah, I mean, he's not... I mean, okay, in 2, he gets out of the prison, but then he goes up to the North Pole. I mean, here he's in a penthouse suite and just not really hiding at all. Okay, you want to do this, then you get rid of the goofy escape. Just have him get off on a technicality or something.
Yeah. And Superman has to just sit there and obey the justice system.
Right, and then you explain everything much easier. But I guess if you really want that John Cryer scene...
you got to have the comedy.
Right.
So you're going for the comedy over the story logic. And then you have... This is at least... Okay, there would be people who the arms race benefits.
Right.
They want it to keep going.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, they're just like really Laurel and Hardy kind of like comedy characters. They're not really like menacing, intimidating, just kind of evil guys who like I don't believe for a minute this guy like sells arms to anybody or is capable of killing anyone.
I'm not sure that. I mean, are nuclear missiles sold? I don't.
It's just more the plutonium, maybe, or
I mean, are there companies making nuclear? I suppose, yeah, the parts for them. I guess
that'd be kind of hard to smuggle, right? Like,
I don't think there are any corporations that just we create nuclear missiles for whoever wants to buy.
Right. Now we just get like pierogi here in some kind of a cell phone case. Throw a little bit of
soil,
Oreo pie soil.
And we get the bubbling beakers.
Seriously, 39 minutes 12 seconds. The bubbling smoking beakers. Oh my god, this is so like Dr. Frankenstein and just.
He's giving the guy a uniform.
He's cutting a piece of cloth.
Right.
Come on. Jeez, we're going to be parents. Yeah. Is this unintentional parody?
Now he's on the base.
So he just
Lex
cut
Luthor,
the cloth.
Notorious criminal mastermind is just...
And of course he's got the hot girl who can somehow get him in there, and then he's with the...
We don't need to know about that.
Like, what's...
I'm going to assume that John Cryer distracted the military guards with his car again. Got a new car.
Come on, check out the car.
It was cut for time.
U.S. Air Force. And now there's the box on the side. I guess no one would notice that, right?
Yeah, We're kind of silent at this point. Just
Well, I guess it becomes like, hey, just stop making fun of it and just accept it for what it is.
Right. I mean, but we're pretty much almost halfway through this movie.
Yeah. 40 minutes, 30
there's
seconds.
There's just no tension. I mean, obviously a plot is happening.
Yeah, things are
Do we
being
care?
done.
I'm trying to think about how I would feel seeing this in the theater.
Well, I think it feels slow.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it feels slow is because when a film is like tightly written, okay, once Act 1 is complete, main character wants something, and you know the opponent that is trying to stop you.
There's no conflict here. I mean,
So
we see Lex Luthor, but there's no conflicting.
No one's trying to stop each other from anything right now. Everyone's doing their own thing, and they're all able to do it. So there's no real drama.
And you get that sometimes in the superhero movies because you get the... I don't know what happened to his net. Now he's just doing single ones, but because in a lot of the superhero movies, sometimes you'll get the origin story of the villain going on at the same time as something else is happening. Right. But in that time, you're getting the development of both characters.
He's doing single ones now.
Yeah, this is pretty inefficient.
That was the fastest birth in history. He's formed. Now this is like right out of 2001, I guess.
And it's got the uniform now.
Yeah. Uniform, electricity, 42 minutes, 6 seconds. Crazy eyes.
And he's nuclear, and he's got the
nails. What is with that? Like, that's going to make no sense later on.
Well, they needed a way for him to scratch him. Like, I don't.
So Lex Luthor's logic is that... I mean, but doesn't Superman get his power from the sun?
He's as strong as Superman, except he has longer nails. I think that's the...
And European hair. I mean, if Superman was attacked by someone with sun power, wouldn't that make him stronger?
I guess, well, there is a bit of a... He's the opposite. Superman gets his power... Well, they both get their power from the sun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
See, that's the thing. It's like... And now we go for comedy here instead of drama in the story.
Right.
Another funny kind of moment.
I feel like he's going a bit too far with the Clark persona here.
Just a little bit too... I mean,
I did always enjoy that. I don't know. The silliness.
I mean, at this point, he's been playing Superman for about 10 years.
That sweet Adidas sweatsuits.
If it's leotard, it's the 80s, right?
With a hood. What is that? Is that a hood? I don't know.
Oh, I think it's just a towel, like a towel. Kind of just like under the sweatshirt.
Now we get this. You'd think they would have gotten some like buff dude or something as the trainer. This guy isn't even look like he's that in shape. I mean,
he's just like skinny,
right? But I mean, if you want a guy that's gonna be like, oh, hey, I'll help you out, why not make him like the stereotypical like buff dude, and he's just a guy.
So in part 3, this
he's
was
a douche. He's douchey enough.
He's douchey. What a jerk. In part 3, it was the small town jock guy.
Right.
Part 2, it was the guy in the diner. It's like, okay, now that worked in those movies, so we got to have some character that Clark Kent shows up a little bit.
Yeah, you should come back and throw the weight at this guy now. Or does that actually happen? Am I remembering something that actually happens?
Yeah, he has like a little payback.
Oh right yeah, he's got the spot here.
To spot him up. But now the last time, if we're following her motivation, she wants Clark. So now she brought. Yeah, there we go. See. No pain, no gain. So we get a payoff there. Now
it's not really hiding his secret identity very well. I don't even know what is this. Like, this
45 minutes 8 seconds.
I hope this was an entire deleted, like. I hope there was an entire deleted scene explaining what this woman's doing here. I don't know. I mean, I see cleavage.
Yeah, why is she dressed up like Dangerous Liaison? I mean, And is this the old studio of the guy from Part 3? Like, how does he find a layer so soon?
I think maybe he just already had it, and I don't know. They didn't freeze his assets. Look, we're...
Now, did he beam it, or was he there and he's just kind of glowing?
I think he glows when he wants to. When he's feeling good.
And as you mentioned...
I love that this guy has no other film credits, like 2 other TV credits. Doesn't speak in this movie himself, because this is Gene Hackman's voice that's coming out of him.
That's an interesting idea. Like,
sure.
What if Gene Hackman...
And
as if we didn't know that he was already as hot as the sun, or he could light.
Right. So he's smoking off a light given him from a nuclear man. I think that's pretty cancerous right there.
There should be radiation going on all over the place. Yeah, I think the lack of the big drama now is that we're 46 minutes into the movie, and Superman doesn't know about what's going on. When your main character doesn't know about the opponent halfway through the film.
Spinning power.
Yeah, what is this? I can create electro tornadoes. I wish we had John Cryer's commentary about how that was filmed. While I'm breakdancing, hey.
Okay, we're in the 80s.
Even though breakdancing is back now.
Yes.
It's been back for a little while. He does have the sun symbol. Lex managed to cut that out so perfectly.
He's got some posture. And this seems like a really bad weakness to have. Like solar powered. I mean, what happens on a cloudy day?
And that took like 1 second. Like he went into the shade.
That's his vulnerability. Like that's a pretty bad... This plan seems really poorly thought out.
And I mean, you thought like the iPhone didn't hold a charge, you know? I mean, this thing, like, this guy's charge is 0.
So at night he's useless unless he has to fly around the world wherever it's daytime.
He has to follow the sun?
Yeah.
Oh boy, so just enough from the ring. But now... So ridiculous. Now we cut to like a 2-minute scene here.
He's like the world's... He's a non-indoor supervillain. Like, you can't go inside.
Where do we hide? Just go inside. Just open a door. Go under that tree right there. I mean, he can't follow you.
You can only go in windowed buildings.
Now, in a more dramatic script, you would have them kind of... This idea, again, is just kind of ridiculous.
Now we get the Three's Company scene.
Yes! Yes! This goes back to the one... I mean, I'm sure Three's Company did this like 20 times.
Wasn't it every episode? I've got 2 dates at the same place. I'm pretty sure that was,
That was like the standard.
Right.
What are we going to do this week?
Once a season, at least, I feel like.
But the classic one I remember is when Jack said he had a cousin, a country cowboy, kind of southern cousin.
Yep.
And Mr. Furley's on the couch. Mm-hmm. And Jack has like the hat, and so he goes like to the right side. He's like, "How's it going, Mr. Furley?" And then he come on the other side, he put the hat on, and be like, "How you doing there, Mr.?" And he'd do the country accent. And so he had to pretend that he was the 2 characters. So this is literally like 5 minutes of just this played out comedy kind of idea.
Right.
When you're resorting to comedy, it means that you have no drama.
I do enjoy that line. Notice the dress, so Clark. Hey, neat dress.
And that's just all Christopher Reeve there.
Right.
It would have been a little more interesting if Lois would be fighting with her.
Right.
If you want to create some drama.
Well, I think she's more like, hey, Superman's into me. You got Clark, so...
Well, one possible journey could be that maybe deep down inside of her, even though Superman tried to erase it, there's something in her nose that is Superman as Clark. Mm-hmm. So that would be drawing her to Clark. And that would create some conflict. But if you have them as best friends, it's like, okay, this is easy to watch.
Right.
Like, one of the basic rules is, like, everybody is fighting with everybody in a movie. No one's friends. No one's friends in a movie. Oh, that guy. Right? She just
This is pretty deceptive for Superman.
He's kind of Superman's kind of a player here. He has hose in multiple area codes.
X-ray vision.
What is he doing?
This is blue. Oh, he's heating it up.
Okay.
He's heating up.
"51 minutes into a movie."
We've done this interview already. I don't know.
So she's asking him about things we've seen.
Right.
And we know the answers to.
There were always the possibility that warped individuals would take advantage of his goodwill. Hint, I guess.
And he has not been informed.
How much he's like, oh, I don't know. What is that?
Nice wallpaper, by the way. He has to just put up with this lie and go through all this BS. That was a nice little slip right there. "51 minutes, 50 seconds.
Seems like he's enjoying being Clark more than Superman in this movie, just in general, the performance. It's more alive.
Mm-hmm. That's like a classic thing, him grabbing the glasses.
That was convenient, I guess.
Why does she like him? She's a millionaire.
I don't know. I guess he's got some charm. He's the square charm, like you said.
So we have to understand that maybe...
Look, we can't all be Superman.
Yeah, but maybe her whole life she's been kind of matched up with these alpha male guys.
Right.
And there's something about him that is endearing. So we need a moment with her and Lois
Well, we've heard her say
where she
that
reveals
he's the good guy, and she knows a lot of jerks, so...
Superman, whatever, muscle-bound, hero. I've dealt with those guys before. I'm out here. Now, this has been about 4 or 5 minutes right now.
Maybe we should like the suit and tie guy instead of this a little more flamboyant.
Another balcony with Lois. At this point in any other movie that supposedly is an action movie, the main character and the opponent need to be battling with each other.
I feel like we should be coming up on... I don't want it to be, but I feel like there should be at least another hour and a half left in this movie.
Yes.
Because nothing's really happened.
Well, I mean, basically what we've gotten here, we have an Act 1 that is 54 minutes so far.
Yes.
That, truthfully, it's all set up for all these...
Well, Act 1, I guess, would have ended when Nuclear Man comes out of and arrives at Luthor's apartment. I guess that could be the end of Act 1. Because that's the end of the setup, and now Act 2 is going to be the conflict.
Well, so now ideally there should be conflict going on,
right.
But then they delay the conflict with more comedy.
This would be livened up if it was more like the junkyard scene in 3, if they just started going at it.
Just right away. Superman has accomplished, by the way, his objective.
Right.
I want to rid the world of nuclear weapons.
That was a great little silly shuffle. I don't even know what to call that. I don't know if I've ever noticed that before.
Oh, just right now?
Yeah, he trips over something and kind of does a little, I don't know. He's goofy.
Now we go back to the frequency.
High frequency.
So at 54 minutes, 30 seconds, this is what should have happened 20 minutes ago.
Right.
But we're waiting almost an hour into the movie.
Well, see, it's ramped up instead of it's just hearing now. He's the only one who can see.
Mm-hmm.
Which...
Just we'll just do that. Why not?
Sure.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Now, wouldn't Superman have adjusted his hearing for all things Lex Luthor? So that he would know kind of what's going on with him? This sequence was 7 minutes long. Deep in the heart of Act 2. Well, because actually... But what's interesting is that this was kind of like a mini entire movie because it had kind of conflict going on.
Right.
In that he didn't want to get found out, so he's moving around, and it kind
but there was
of
no point
quickly.
to it, and we completely lose it because she's like, what happened to Clark? And so we have to wonder what they're thinking. Clark is just gone.
Yeah. Because now in any scene, dramatic scene, you have characters fighting for something, and at the end of that scene, it leads to promise of a future scene.
Right.
So what's the next thing we expect from Lois and Mrs. Warfield?
I don't even think we see him for another 20 minutes, do we?
So they're just done. They're just hanging out.
No, they come back briefly, I think. After fingernails.
Now, it seems like this, like, as soon as Nuclear Man showed up the first time, Superman should have followed him there. Like, somehow he sensed it or he knew it, and boom, he's here, and we got conflict going on right away.
And this is their first meeting in
Yes.
a long time, and it's very low-key.
Low-key.
It's like, hey, what have you been up to?
"56 minutes, 30 seconds. First time they've met since the end of part 2, right?
Yeah.
Look closely at the cell structure.
Now, I think originally he was supposed to be played also by Christopher Reeve.
Interesting.
Because he had the DNA.
That could have been cool.
Yeah, but they also kind of did that already in 3. So
In 3. Because this Nuclear Man's a precursor to Carl from Die Hard.
There was the huge cut sequence, because this movie was cut down by like 45 minutes, I think. And I guess they made one Nuclear Man, and he was like botched, and he defeats him pretty quickly. Okay. And then we create this one.
Now that's actually pretty cool.
This Nuclear Man, though, but then you think about this one is actually the
better version.
One. This is the one where like, oh, this guy's a badass.
So when Superman come back and be like, really, Lex, this is the best you could do?
And yeah, I guess the first one was supposed to be like a little bit maybe of an homage to the Bizarro character from the comics, where he had more of that persona of being messed up or whatever. But
was that actually filmed? This kind of
Bizarro he was cast and he was played. I don't know if it was ever. I never seen it. I don't know if the effects were finished.
Okay.
I don't know if those are deleted scenes in some super special edition. I've never seen it.
Yeah, because it feels like the threat of the Nuclear Man needs to be 20 minutes before.
Yeah,
it needs to be way earlier.
Right. And I think in the original, it did happen. We had the first conflict with the first villain.
Yeah, because I mean, right in this movie, we're basically going to get an Act 2 that's 30 minutes long. We're going to finally get some conflict. Oh, the cement is burning from the. But then it's like anything he touches is going to start burning, right? Like
apparently.
Wouldn't he be able to control it? See, that really annoys me. Even with Iron Man 3, which we just kind of saw. I kind of like, even in that movie, they had the superheat characters, whatever.
Right.
I kind of like it when weaknesses are defined.
Right.
Okay, but 58 minutes, 38 seconds.
This is the worst, one of the worst effects moments coming up here. Falling is bad. It's
look at the
blurry
film grain right there, yeah.
Grainy, and we get the superimposed, but here, let's go. Just had split apart. It was like two cardboard cutouts, just like were moved across the screen. It was like South Park. It's just
the look. Oh, this fight is so ridiculous.
And then, hey, we gotta go to a landmark.
Yeah,
so.
We have to. What if someone destroyed the Great?
By the way, it's daytime in China at the same time as it's daytime in Metropolis. I'm not sure. I guess there's a 2-hour window where that happens.
We'll just go with it. And he's got like these super lasers that he just kind of destroys. Oh yeah, these flying effects are so bad. And just this whole repair is just like...
Oh, the best superpower he's had.
Yeah, just... Please.
Masonry vision.
Yeah, like... In honor of the recent passing of Ray Harryhausen, that was very much a Harryhausen kind of looking effect.
And that takeoff was just... Yeah.
And now they're back like this. Like
right.
He just took off like 4 seconds ago. This is like they're in the swimming pool and fighting in the space swimming pool.
And he is. Why does Nuclear Man have frost breath?
He's through the exactly like
cold fusion.
He's found the secret. Now, how does he break out of this? Like what?
He's super strong.
Now he's at the volcano
town.
and.
didn't.
this thing.
All right, you can invent all the powers you want, but seriously, Nuclear Man just had frost breath. That's like Mr. Freeze, like breathing fire. Because, hey.
Yeah, just one of my pet peeves is just to at least explain a little bit of these powers. Like, if you're going to give it, let us know the weaknesses. Let us know why. Mm-hmm. I don't need a dissertation, but I just need some guidelines, because it means nothing if you can just invent. And he just breaks out of it like...
Right.
Why did Nuclear Man think that was going to work on him? And how did he break out?
The priest.
And this is like the go-to effect, like just flying at. Look at this, flying at the screen. Wow, that was so bad. So instead of freezing the lake, we have him cutting off the mountaintop.
You have to think that the cutting off the mountaintop affects some other environmental.
It just does something else. Yeah. So this is just the writers saying, "Well, what can we have him do?" And okay, he's gonna.
I mean, that doesn't look so bad. I don't think this really helps. I don't know. I mean, it's done erupting. Does that stop the flow up?
Super breath.
All right, so they both have frost breath. I guess if they have the same DNA, he might have the frost breath. But then why doesn't Superman have nails?
Yeah, and my big thing for this is, why is the nail slice gonna
your big
affect
thing
him?
Your big thing is just why.
Why? Just stop it there. Why? Why?
Yeah, because if he's giving him the power of the sun radiation or whatever, you'd think it would just make him stronger.
And there's no more lava on the side of the mountain, by the way. It's just like it all just.
You got it. Oh wait, super nails.
I really believe
so.
This
He's
was
Wolverine.
Kind of he's Wolverine.
Right.
At this time, I would probably even say maybe Freddy. They're trying to reference Freddy Krueger or something, because he's really popular in the 80s. But why would Nuclear Man be able to hurt Superman? I mean, it just makes no sense. Lex Luthor almost explained it all, but then he just stopped. The flying at the screen, the horrible effect.
To explain this and not have the super plot holes, it would take it'd be so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're putting together the DNA and they're giving him the little strip of uniform and all that. We're gonna throw some kryptonite in here.
Yes.
Done.
Boom. Done.
And then maybe he has some green energy
green
instead.
Nails or something.
That's it. It would be so simple.
You just turned this into my favorite movie of all time.
We get the Statue of Liberty just going off.
It's flying like Superman.
There's a lot of use of the Statue of Liberty at this time. I think this is around the time of Ghostbusters too.
Okay. And we did have in the Donner cut, they did have a little Statue of Liberty in the.
Oh yeah, she was sitting on top of the Statue of Liberty in part 3.
And in part 3, yeah, that's right. So it always goes back to that.
Lots of Statue of Liberty.
Always cut to it in X-Men, right?
Yep.
The first X-Men movie has that. But that's just like a cheap. Look at flying at the screen again. Oh my god! And cut to the people.
That looks like South Park right there. This is just we're moving the thing.
This is South Park quality. Oh boy. But why is Nuclear Man doing this instead of using his inherent powers to defeat Superman? Why would he bother toying around?
As you see, he's distracting him. He's now...
But he's not draining his power because the sun is there, you know? And wouldn't Nuclear Man imply that he becomes self-sufficient as an energy source, so he could destroy the sun and therefore kill Superman?
That's a great look. That's a great look.
That is a pretty evil-looking... Okay, so Nuclear Man's big strategy was...
to distract him enough so he's got to be holding something, and he can sneak up behind and scratch him.
Then he can scratch him. So the claw... That gives him some kind of blood disease, radiation, energy thing.
Sure.
Okay, now why does... Okay, this is the part here. Why doesn't he just kill him?
Doesn't he just...
Because we cut to... Like, he just kicked him.
And we see the cape fall.
Oh,
I think it's assumed that he's dead because the cape fall. I mean, that's the headline in the paper, right?
And then we just cut away.
Yeah.
Like, I'm Nuclear Man. I slashed him and I kicked him.
Done.
And we're done. That's enough. We're done. We're over. That was one of the more focused moments of the movie. Even though it was cheesy. We bought it cheap. Okay, but it made no sense because this is frustrating. When you don't give Nuclear Man a full personality and intelligence.
Oh, but we give him a crush for no reason. Nuclear Man's not he's I don't know.
But that's the problem. Like if you're rewriting this, you have to give him a strong personality. You should make him just as smart as Lex Luthor.
He was just the tool of Lex Luthor. He didn't have any of Lex Luthor's DNA. But
then why does he sound like? Then why does he sound like him? Didn't he mix Superman and Lex Luthor?
Did he? Yeah.
I thought he did. Like Superman's powers plus Lex Luthor's genius.
Maybe he is smart. We just don't see it.
It's 45 minutes.
Yeah, he doesn't apply himself. There's scenes of him like doing science with glasses on,
with beakers that are bubbling and smoking.
Right.
So he got kicked into space, and now he's by the fire.
Right. He's sick.
Drinking NyQuil. So it just made him sick. But why? What did the slash do? And why didn't he keep slashing at him when he had the chance?
And there's ultimately no stakes to this because... Oh, yeah. Remember in the beginning of the movie when he had that thing he only used once?
That's it. That's it.
Which, why...
So I think that scene at the beginning was written last because they wrote themselves into a corner. And they're like, man, we got to put a scene earlier.
Why hasn't he used it yet? I mean, I think we're supposed to think he's given up. Which just doesn't even make any sense as a character at all. Superman doesn't give up.
What is this fingernail cut done? There's no follow through. There's no logic.
It gave him the flu. I mean, so he's sitting here. He looks like he could use, some Theraflu, a little.
He gave me the super flu, Lois. I've been throwing up all day.
I mean, this is how I look when I have to take a day off work and I'm sick. I got the blanket wrapped around me. I got the chills. And it's not even like a super sickness. I mean, I guess Superman doesn't get sick. So
fighting, slash, and kick instead of Nuclear Man finishing him off. And the next time we see Superman, he's on a couch with a blanket.
Right.
So there's no... What does it mean? Why is it affecting him? There's no reason it should be this bad and illogical and frustrating, but... It's lazy, and it's just... We got the rights to the movie, so let's just put it out there.
The conversation they're having, it feels like... I mean, there's no establishment or whatever, but it feels like it's just... I'm going to tell him this thing because it feels like he's given up or something. Like she's given a pep talk that he's not there for.
Yeah.
And that totally flies... Again, as I said, it just totally flies against the face of... the character himself. Like, does he just give up? Like, oh, I got sick, screw this. Because nothing happens here that makes him just think of, oh, yeah, I got that Kryptonian thing I can use.
Right. And why would he forget about it?
So the only reason he hasn't used it is because he's defeated. He's feeling defeated. For no reason. There's no domino effect of emotions, of resulting... I don't know, conditions from conflict. And nothing has brought this on except the writers saying we have to have this. Why is he sitting here sick? I don't...
So
and
last
now
time...
he has a bunch of money, which happened really quickly.
You've helped us sell. We've decided
What is the time frame of this? This happened like yesterday? 2 days? I mean, I guess Superman's been missing for a little while.
Like a day? The cape was over him. So how could he have the power to open the cape up if he was in the darkness?
The cape is... I think the cape might have some... it's like it's like those tan through bathing suits.
Okay. And now he
Jumping in the
becomes like
mesh.
the Joker. He's like, I'm gonna burn all your money. Okay, why does he ruin the partnership with them if they're paying him
he's got all the money. He's taking. He just said he's taking control of the company. Pay attention.
So this goes to one of my theories is that the smarter a movie is, the dumber we can be. Because it's answering all the questions we would ask if it was being done. So if it's dumb, we become smarter because our minds start asking questions.
You have to make the connections.
If it's doing its job right, we don't have to ask any questions. So like right now, why is he like 80 years old?
Yes, this is where
why does Superman have AIDS? Why does he have AIDS?
This is where we see that so much must have gotten cut here. Because we just saw him in front of the fire. Now it's like he just drank from the wrong grail.
And you have chosen poorly.
So why didn't he do this before? Like he just thought of it now? I don't know what's going on.
I'm feeling tired, Lois. And he's aging like 50 years in like an hour. And all of a sudden now he gets the idea for that. Now why is he getting superpowered here? One hour, 12 minutes, 15 seconds. What is going on right now? Super meditation.
Basking in the sun. I like that crappy end that he's got too. It's
why does he float up?
Okay, so here he just sees this. He sees the picture of her, and Nuclear Man's got a nuclear boner.
He's having a reactor.
You may have. This is the man part of Nuclear Man. He has needs.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I guess that power just works. Like he just does that.
And he's back.
Hey, I'm Superman. I'm here.
And where's the woman? You'll never find. How does he know what he's talking about? We missed so much. I think there was about. I think we missed about a half. That's where about a half hour, that 45 minutes of cut footage was right there.
It's all right there. And he starts launching fireballs. He's pissed off. He got block and he's just blowing up all over the place.
He's frustrated. The people. wait! Horrible cut here. It's coming up right here. We just saw those cars driving up.
Okay.
And I remember this specifically. I don't know what that power is. All right, here. No, this is it. And what? They explode.
They just explode.
Different cars, but
1 hour 13 minutes and 1 hour 14 minutes, and all the cars just start exploding.
Right. Oh, the SWAT van which
lifts up
came really quickly.
And now he does like the spinning power, the breakdance power. Why can he fly? An eyeball melt and hands.
There's a lot happening now all of a sudden. And now, I mean, some of this I don't even know.
Maybe they got confused with Masters of the Universe and they started kind of mixing the two.
He's got the chroma key. Yes, I just pulled that out. Masters of the Universe reference for
So Superman there lowered them?
I guess he's got opposite powers. You win.
That's a good mean look. That's a good bad guy 80s mean face. The people. I'm gonna run towards the people.
Let's take the elevator. I mean, this is a good trick, I guess. Nuclear Man is really...
He's angry.
Not bright.
No, there's the rope around the wrist.
Oh, yeah.
I'll always remember the Roger Ebert review on Channel 7 when he's just like, this movie's so bad, just look at this clip. And he just showed him flying up.
Didn't he just take him back to Luthor's? Isn't this Luthor's house?
It's Luthor's place.
It's pretty stupid.
Oh, he got him. There's no light in there. But how does Superman know?
Because he figured it out.
How does he know that that's the weakness?
All right, he's pulling up the elevator.
So none of this is earned. There's no research. There's no anything.
Again, it feels like we missed a lot.
Yeah, there's like just 20 minutes.
I feel like maybe... Are we sure we didn't just skip 2 chapters on the DVD?
Like, to accidentally hit it?
All right, he drops it on the moon.
Okay, so 20 years ago, Kubrick figured out how to do the moon realistically. And Superman 4 couldn't even match a 20-year-old.
It's pretty satisfying
film
with that.
technique.
I guess the moon never hits the sun. I don't...
Dark side, right?
Right.
I mean, if you put him on the dark side of the moon... Did Superman not know about the dark side of the moon?
I think he didn't know that elevator doors are not airtight.
Airtight. And even the smallest amount of light. Look at the strings.
He's still
on his
hanging
back.
around.
Look at the strings on Superman. Yeah, on Reeve's back right there.
Well, look, there's no Starfield.
One hour, 16 minutes, 37 seconds.
I'm pretty sure there's a point in this upcoming fight where you can see like the background move, ripple. Why is the flag not? Why is the flag sticking up like I don't know.
Boom! Face smash.
We get the WWF scene here.
Well, it just, if anything happens in a script, you make your characters do something.
I've got this super heavy moon rock.
It has to affect them. This is the epitome of just nothing that's done matters because nothing connects. How much longer can he make those nails?
I guess if it happens again, he's screwed because he doesn't have the crystal anymore. Oh, super wrestling move. True story. When acting out this scene with my cousins, I accidentally kneed my female cousin in the nose. When doing that, I went a little too hard. So Superman 4, a movie that actually injures children.
Were you Nuclear Man or were you Superman?
Well, I was obviously Superman, so...
No one would choose to be Nuclear Man, right?
I think we might have taken turns. I don't know what's going on here.
Again, this is just random powers. Like, why? Like, what? Okay,
this is a lot of slow motion. I mean,
what do the effects of these blasts do to Superman? There's no explanation.
This has all been slow motion. This is like...
It'd be like a music video. Could we just like put some kind of song over this, like an 80s? Wake me up before you go.
Like Zack Snyder is just... I think he learned from this scene, and
that's a good scream right there.
It is.
No, I guess he's done.
Oh.
I guess he's done wanting the girl. He's like forgot about her.
His singular goal is to destroy Superman, followed by
get laid. Why doesn't he just claw him? Do it again. You had him last time. Claw him with your old...
He's pounding him into
Oh, boy. Now, this happened in part 3 when the weight fell on him in the junkyard. But why is that going to do anything?
Because, you know...
If it was Nuclear Man, it would, because there's no sun.
Maybe that's what he thinks.
So we're missing moments of... Because Superman doesn't
And
talk...
now we're 10 minutes away from the end of this movie. Like, this is... everything
tension.
just kind of... Like, there was just nothing happening, and then all this happened, and then we're done. The pacing of this movie is really pretty bad.
Well, and ideally, even if it's just drama between characters...
You remember when Superman was going to stop nuclear war?
An hour ago? Notice that there wasn't any immediate reaction to, after the missiles were gone, how that affected everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're gone. Like, you never cut back to the kid.
Gotta make sure to do this first.
Superman has OCD. he has to make sure the flag is perfectly straight.
I mean, okay, we do get the point. Hey, he's upping what he can do. We've already seen... He's pushing the moon.
He pushes the moon. That's pretty badass.
That could be cool.
That's pretty badass. But now, why is she in space?
Well, yeah, she should not be breathing.
She is in outer space. And I know if you touch a superhero, you get his powers. But now he's gone. He's dead. And so she falls. So why
she's hanging on to him because
she's still touching.
I guess he still has the power of flotation.
Why was he that horny that he needed to go back and get her? Okay, so there was constant touching of superheroes. She should be a frozen corpse right now. She should be the T-1000.
She should have imploded at this point.
But now, wouldn't you? What is he going to do with him now? So, hey, that took like 4 seconds. We could just re-enter orbit without her burning up. What do we got? What's going on here?
He drops him into the nuclear
reactor.
Reactor. So I guess he's processed as nuclear energy.
Where Wolverine Origins takes place later.
So he powers the world.
We get a super spike in power. Okay.
And done.
And start wrapping it up.
The end. That felt conclusive.
One hour, 21 minutes, 45 seconds. We get the resolution here. For some reason, we'll just throw in about buying the shares. Something I think Batman Begins stole from Superman 4.
Lois Lane's got the Annie Hall thing going on with the
Tell me that he says, didn't you get the memo?
I think you may be right.
Didn't you get the memo? Protected from Predator.
The Daily Planet arc has more of a conclusive feel. Like I feel like it's okay. We got this finished.
Well, this
happens out of nowhere too. Like, hey, you're a minority shareholder now. We got it.
Yeah, it's just.
But at least there's an ending to this. It feels like
they went through a journey.
Right.
We're back. The Daily Planet.
That villain gets more of a comeuppance than
the Nuclear Man.
We got the quick establishing shot of United Nations.
Lex Luthor. Meanwhile, there's no nuclear missiles anymore, so we should still get something with that.
We get a brief ending of that, I guess. Yeah, I remember when that was the plot of the movie.
And so Nuclear Man was very much just kind of left to his own impulses. Like, whatever I want to focus on, I focus on.
Yeah, Lex Luthor kind of went away.
And he just, money, kick out the Russian stooge nuclear guys that are paying him off. Okay, disappear. Here comes Superman. One hour, 23 minutes, 42 seconds. Another speech.
Once more, we survive the threat of a war, but
wait, but why was he? Wrong? I don't. What was? Why is he wrong?
What was the threat of war that they survived? Nuclear,
just the escalation.
Nuclear Man. Once more, we survived.
So does it seem like this should have started with the escalation of both sides going to launch missiles, and then he does it?
There will be peace in the world when the people want it so badly. The governments have to give it to them. I mean, it's a nice little speech. It just has nothing to do with any of the part of the movie that we've seen.
So what you do is you take that and you dump all the rest of the movie, and you have that as your theme, and you write the movie around that idea.
Well, first we have.
Where do they get these cars?
Where does he get? Why is he steampunk Lex now? we had him as the 1800s
dangerous liaison Lex Luthor. Now he's steampunk.
Yeah.
he's sucker punched Lex Luthor right now. Okay, and yeah, that's what happens when you don't pay attention to your creation. Is that Daniel Day-Lewis?
In an early role.
Early role. As the priest who reforms.
He spent two months at a church
Preparing-
researching the role
Preparing for 30 seconds
as
of
an
screen
actual
time.
priest.
Too bad they couldn't get Ned Beatty to do a quick cameo.
Even Ned Beatty was like, "I'm out."
Were they even destroying rocks in the 80s as prisoners? Do they still do that?
I can forgive it as the
Just a nice little
comic booky prison. And yeah, as he was sick, he this is how he figured it out. He's like, I figured it out earlier.
See you in 20. Well, I guess 2006 was 19 years when Returns came out. And then we just cut to this.
And this almost makes you feel like, that was an epic movie, but
Yeah, it's just like default. Is it kind of a lazy
and coming
finish
up,
that
yeah.
all the movies finish this way?
no, I like that it gives it the same capper. And hey, this is the best flying effect we got because this is old footage.
It's just old footage from the original. So 1 hour, 26 minutes, 36 seconds, the credits
Golden
start.
Globus production.
And now they just don't even care about the credits here. They're like,
No.
oh, let's just give them a little glow, a little haze.
Surprised there's no like bad 80s song here instead of the orchestral.
At least it keeps it timeless, right?
We should have gotten a reprise of the song that was playing in his car.
Throw in some synth. Make it like a synth version.
Boys Town Priest was not.
Daniel
Was not
Day-Lewis.
Day-Lewis.
Was it Michael Day-Lewis? The voice of Susanna York, who would be the mother, right?
Mm-hmm.
Closing thoughts then on this 80s quadrilogy. Because we're gonna go forward with the
yeah, Superman Returns is better than this movie.
yes, Bryan Singer. But it almost has the same flaws in terms of the dramatic problem, in that it kind of does the whole kind of characters, personal stuff, but the overall like threat from the bigger bad guy kind of is like a little more subdued.
I guess it's kind of actually the opposite. I mean, I felt like there was a lot of character moments. In fact, Superman Returns, which we'll see, is probably that was the one original part of it, was that the character conflicts were something that hadn't been done before.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it was the plot that it was all a retread. And
Yeah. Everything with Lex Luthor. And I guess that would be 2006, so Batman Begins just came out a year before, so it hadn't had a chance to influence it, because it was probably in production just at the same time.
it didn't really have to influence it. I mean, they're entirely different feeling characters, and I don't feel like Man of Steel feels too much like Batman Begins.
It's not coming off that way.
At least in what we've seen. And that's good.
Well, I think for me, one of the issues with the character is like, well, okay, once you do the origin story, you do a great origin story. Let's say Man of Steel's basically Superman 1 and 2 kind of ish, because you got Zod, you got growing up, planet being destroyed. Once you do that and you establish, hey, this guy he's going to help us out, he's selfless, he doesn't care about personal things even though he has these issues. Where do you go with a character like that if you're not going to... Because this series decided to not go into the inner struggles too much. And it just kept it on the surface of give him some opponents to fight.
Yeah, beyond the second movie, no, it didn't.
Yeah, and then just give him some opponents to fight, give him some set pieces to have.
And we don't get the Superman will return this time.
They're like, we know it's over. Especially after Batman comes out in 89, it's like, well, I guess Superman doesn't really fit right now. That's the thing, I think that at this point in 87, the character just became like, they didn't have maybe enough respect for what to do with the character. They more than likely they weren't going to be contacting the comic book people and saying, hey, what do you think? It seems just now like nerd culture is so...
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
so
unheard
out
of
there.
this is the equivalent of if some major comic book character came out in like a straight to DVD movie right now.
Right.
You know, that's basically what the equivalent was. It's low budget movie from the makers of all these other movies that would have been straight to DVD at the time.
Yes. If this kind of approach was taken to like Iron Man, people would be mad. I mean, the backlash would be happening at this time. Obviously, you don't really have... What's the backlash going to be? Someone's going to write a letter to Marvel and they'll publish in the back of a comic book. There's no place to really voice your...
Yeah, imagine Iron Man 6, directed by Yui Boll and and just thrown out there.
Yeah, and Iron Man just all of a sudden has just these crazy powers.
Right.
things like Pepper Potts disappears in the middle of the movie. She's never seen again. And Tony Stark changes character. All of a sudden, gives up his foundation. And just like the craziest things happen. And it's like, okay, you paid your money, so whatever, we don't care. Now, because it seems that Stan Lee's involved and they want to connect everything, that there's much more attention paid to having continuity, having things be more faithful.
Are there any positives we can pull
from this movie? Well, I like a few moments there with Clark Kent. I like the scene where he talked Lois Lane, only because that's a potential for the theme that he has to struggle with.
Right.
He doesn't have anyone to talk to. I like the idea that it's, okay, I'm going to address what's going on in the world. This is arms race.
Right.
87, I still think we felt like the world could go into a nuclear war.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like the Cold War was going to end. So I like that they're bringing in a real life thing into Superman and kind of bringing him more into our world. So that plus Clark Kent having the struggle, if it would have started from there and kind of if it would have been motivated from inner workings instead of like we'll just force things on like a kid writes a letter and just these non sequiturs of whatever and have him do the Jack Tripper thing from Three's Company for 10 minutes. It's like have it come from his character, focus on that arms race. I like that. Could have been interesting.
It doesn't really tie into the main plot, but like you're saying about the talk, that's the only person he can talk to. So Superman's kind of, I don't know, lonely, I guess. So okay, you can contrast that with Clark Kent's getting some attention and maybe he's drawn to that, maybe because in this it's kind of played like the whole time he's not really, I mean, obviously he has to play the kind of character, but it's very much like a goofy thing and he's not really seriously interested in this person or whatever, because of course as Clark he's still like Lois, blah blah blah, but maybe he's drawn more to her because he can be himself as Clark. I mean, he's not actually being himself, but Superman can't just like hang around and go to the movies with somebody,
right?
So it's somebody who can have to talk to or whatever. Maybe there's something there.
There was a Yahoo headline this morning and it said Superman's real weakness isn't kryptonite, it's loneliness.
Okay.
So I mean that's great that you just brought that up. I think that's what they're picking up on this new movie.
Because we've had the contrast between we've had Superman 2 where he gives it up in order to be with somebody, but he can do it a little different because as Superman he can be himself. If you follow that interpretation of the characters, that Superman is who he is, and then Clark Kent's the disguise, which they kind of went both ways in this movie series of which one is him. I mean, I guess his real character has elements of both, but with Superman, he can be more what he is, but he can't be that all the time.
Right.
Whereas the Clark Kent, he can be that all the time, and he doesn't have to hide, but he still has to put on the act. They're competing needs.
And that's where I think you got to get rid of parts 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And you got to pick up from 2, and you have to address that.
Yes.
The problem with these last 2 movies was that they forgot about the inner workings of character, and they decided to just freeze Superman and Clark as who they are there. Okay, these are, this is Clark Kent, this is Superman, that's how they're going to be. And we're going to surround them with these things that have nothing to do with what goes on inside of them. So we'll throw Richard Pryor in the movie because it's popular. We'll just come up with whatever, computer and all this weird stuff. And then this one will just be like, oh, okay, we had Zod and those guys in 2. Let's just bring another super villain kind of guy. And we'll just throw Lex Luthor. The change of a main character is only as powerful as the villain he faces. Right. So Lex Luthor needs to have a journey too.
Yeah, this is the 3rd time we've seen him. There needs to be a bit more of a motivation than just, hey, I'm back for more money.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's dying and he's like, the world hasn't recognized me as the genius. Superman keeps thwarting that. Maybe it's some kind of legacy thing. It's got to be more of a emotional,
because he comes back and he's like, you know what I've thought this whole time is destroy Superman, but I'm also gonna do this nuclear company thing, get some money. Like, which is it? What do you...
Can Lex give himself Superman's DNA and make himself?
I mean, you could say maybe it goes away from the character, but if you really want to show that he's out for revenge, then he doesn't care about money. Yeah, have him just be like, whatever, I don't care about any of this. Instead, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm rich now again.
Yeah, wouldn't he go kidnap Lois Lane and wouldn't he kind of just attack everyone Superman cares about? And then just kind of
sounds like an entirely different movie than this, though. I mean,
but
less goofy. But
because I think it just went goofy because the effect of the set pieces ran their course on us. It's like the moon thing was awesome, and that was like a very epic kind of visual. But the whole thing with the volcano and then just saving the people on the space station, it's like, I mean, honestly...
And they start to go in that direction. I mean, when we do Returns, we'll see that they kind of get halfway there with Luthor. I mean, I do think there's some menace to the character, especially when, towards the end, when they have the, kryptonite island, and
he's like stabbing him with that.
Yeah,
that's pretty
There's
ruthless.
the whole passion of the Superman in that.
Yes.
So there's some of
The
that.
passion of the Superman.
Well, that's one of my more other complaints about that movie is the Christ allegory is a bit too much.
They do
There's
start
a lot
to
of moments
pound
of
it
that,
over the head, yeah.
But there is some of that actual malice involved. But there's also a lot of the silliness too.
Yeah.
And it's kind of stuck in the middle. It's like we don't want to entirely do something different than the Hackman character because it's supposed to be a continuation.
Right. But it's like they don't push it. They don't push it enough. They don't push where the character can go.
Right. I think they would have been better off just scrapping. They don't have to do the origin story again, but they don't have to say this absolutely has to follow the first two movies to the letter.
Maybe at this point in 87, the idea of the perfect kind of hero is a little bit too cliche or too antiquated. Because I think the same year we have Lethal Weapon, and there we get a cop. I mean, Dirty Harry was kind of that too, where it's not like the ideal cop. I mean, it's a cop with problems. It's our heroes start to become people who are villainous in their own ways.
Yeah, I mean, the 80s was the time of the all-American heroes and the muscle bounties. I mean, it's the time of Stallone and Schwarzenegger.
Sure,
but then
A-Team and all that kind of stuff.
Right, but moving into the 90s, which became the era of the anti-hero, I guess.
Sure.
Especially towards the late 90s. So we're a bit of a ways from that, but we do get the Batman with the darker, somewhat villain and our darker hero. And
Superman, Truth, Justice, the American Way, like we said in an earlier commentary, saying the American Way in 87, you still feel like that pride or like it still applies. Right. But now it's almost kind of like, aren't you being a little bit xenophobic or something? Like you're so narrow-minded. It's a world community now.
And I think that might have been a bit of the problem with Superman Returns was just that it was that kind of hero, and it was a time when everybody really wanted all the more conflicted. And that's just not what it's. And I don't get the we're gonna Batmanify Superman and Batman of Steel. I see they're trying to do it again, and I just hope people give it a chance to be its own.
Yeah. Okay, let's say Superman is just a cultural myth, right? Like myths kind of take form and they convey certain things to us about ourselves. I mean, after a time, like let's say I don't know, Little Red Riding Hood or Cinderella, like even though there's like an inherent, I don't know, archetypical kind of quality, maybe sometimes a story doesn't apply to our times anymore. And if you change it to apply, you really change the nature of the character of the story. So it's probably like you're just better off creating a new character. Superman's marketable.
Right.
And these other stories are marketable, so you keep them around. But like when you're making Hansel and Gretel, witch killers and all this, hunters, you're really changing the nature of it, and you're just doing it because it's marketable, but not because it serves the same purpose that it once did.
Yeah.
In terms of what the stories convey to us about ourselves.
We're ready. The moviegoers are ready to move back a little bit towards that. I mean, Captain America did well. He's kind of a similar type of style of character, and that he's not.
Great point.
He's not this dark, conflicted guy. He has a conflict, but it's not like he's not an anti-hero, that's for sure. He's very much the Boy Scout type.
Great point.
And and his movie did well, and he was a great character to have in the Avengers.
And in Avengers, he was the one, the unifier.
Right.
Like they could even push that more, where like Stark is the ultimate representation of, like, let's say, the selfish American who just cares about himself. But Captain America's classic America of, like, everyone working together for the greater good, and I'm gonna help. And
you had all the different archetypes in there. You had the Hulk, which is obviously the inner conflict of which person am I, that type of thing. But you Captain America who knew what he was,
right?
And again, Superman is a similar character.
Great point, man. And I think that's a really good way to they could look at that and say, well, Superman, how could he work in that kind of Captain America way?
Right.
But in his own thing. Can he be portrayed? Because like you said in the previous commentary, now we kind of need Superman more than ever in a lot of ways. So hopefully they're going to be able to blend it. Here, by the end of this movie, they're just give up on exploring the character and what Superman means. And they just focused on these set pieces and just petered out. They forgot what really drove it.
As we record this, we're less than a month away from Man of Steel, so looking forward to it.
It's going to be good. So we will return for Superman Return. Technically, that one is really part of this canon. They tried to make it just like one of these movies.
That was Superman 3.
Yeah.
They should have just named it Superman 3 again.
Like, just
the real Superman 3.
Well, on the DVD, I noticed it says Superman Returns, the movie.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, just like the original, the movie. All right, well, we made it through. We didn't drink anything. we did this commentary sober.
Yeah.
kind of pointed some things out that were covered up by laughter watching it the first time. Hopefully there's some lessons learned about dramatic structure, and I think watching movies like this is important because they really reveal what happens when you don't follow the guidelines of structure.
And watching them all in a row like this shows us, where the downfalls occur, and we can easily compare what happened.
You can see the trajectory, and unfortunate, but again, the 80s, very much like a, I don't know, on the evolutionary scale of kind of where we are now, they're kind of towards the beginning because superhero movies were not treated the way they were today. This was just a property, make your money, get rid of it. The producers just got it because it was a name.
Right.
It's very different now. So.
Not that we need to do the same thing for the Batman movies, but the same thing happens with the Batman movies.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost the exact same trajectory.
Good call. Good call. So, and yeah, I think it's just that story cycle of just, it's exciting, it's done well, we want more of it, we get tired of it, and then it just falls into parody if they don't try to revive it the right way.
Yeah, I think there's just a different kind of motivation in making these series now where they actually... It's all made with the point of continuation. Each of these kind of are a self-contained story.
They didn't necessarily know that they would be making another one. The first two they did for this one.
Right. Well, they shot them together. But yeah, but the Batman movies as well, they were all just kind of self-contained, and there was no thought to developing the characters or anything. And now we have this ongoing universe, even with the Batman movies. This is going to be a trilogy. This is what we're going to do. We have a full arc here.
We're kind of spoiled now in that, if you start a movie, you're like, hey, you're going to make 3 of these. Right. Or you're going to make 2 of these. Wow, that's really cool.
But, I mean, all the series, the 80s and 90s series, it was just not like that. You just had where they would just take some unrelated script and fit it to the characters like they did with Die Hard movies.
Yeah.
When I see movies now, I think I mentioned this in one of the commentaries, when I see 8 Harry Potter movies, and they're all of at least decent quality, or you see, I don't know if you want to count the Marvel Universe as one or not, but we're seeing these sequels... We're actually getting to 3rd movies or farther, and they're actually still good.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing, because that never happened. I mean, you knew when you got to 3 that already the quality was going to dip, and anything beyond 3 was just not going to be worth anybody's time.
Right.
And that was always the formula.
So now, in a sense, maybe reboots are justified in that maybe there was something missed in those rough drafts.
Yeah.
Can you reboot whatever, Nightmare on Elm Street the right way?
Right.
And to say, hey, we did 7 movies, let's do 3 movies, but make them really good and have them have a solid kind of a story structure arc.
I guess that is an exception if you count New Nightmare as a separate sequel. Yeah, but
or pick your movies from 80s and 90s and do them this way, and the way they were doing them now. So it could be exciting. I'm
not opposed to reboots as a steadfast, like nothing should ever be remade, but you got to do something different with it and have a reason to do it.
Other than just reprofiting.
Right.
Because they're more than a reboot, they're just a reprofit.
Let's do another Spider-Man and doing the exact same thing over again.
Yeah. All right, so with that...
That ends the quadrilogy.
That's our Christopher Reeve saga. We're going to go on to Brandon Routh and Bryan Singer, who...
Not related to Lex Luthor from Superman 3.
Lex Luthor? And Bryan Singer reveals that he's fallible.
Yes.
That was his first misfire, right? After his string of X-Men success. And
depends on how you feel about Half the Pupil, I guess.
I like that Pupil. Yeah. I think it's a solid drama. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's a little bit over the top, but... Bryan
Singer has certain issues that come out in a lot of his movies that come out in Superman Returns.
We'll see, because he hasn't... Since then, it's been Valkyrie and Jack the Giant Slayer. And they,
That's right, he did do Jack the Giant
Slayer. Yeah, so, I don't know, the magic... So he got affected by some kryptonite because what's going on there? But he is doing that series on YouTube, H Plus, Humanity Plus.
Oh, I didn't know about that. No,
it's like just like some humans advanced with technology kind of thing, and cyborg stuff. So I think there's like 80 mini episodes or something up. So I think he's producing it though. The journey still continues.
Yes.
With Superman Returns in a few weeks, and
the real Superman 3, I guess.
So. The real Superman 3 and Man of Steel just a month away. The shade, the sun fades, and the power on Nuclear Man goes away.
As we fly over the earth and give you a smile and a wave.
So with these lessons learned and the movie truth revealed, hopefully the makers of Man of Steel will learn the lessons and avoid the same mistakes. Chris and I conclude the movie night journey through the Superman franchise next time around with Superman Returns. Make sure to subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with the latest videos. Remember, choose your movies wisely because we get more of what we pay for. So if we don't want let's not watch. And until next time, long live good movies.